There's someone in your life right now who's going through an emotional storm of rare intensity. This person has developed feelings for you so deep, they're completely overwhelming them, challenging everything they thought they knew about love and human connection. What makes this situation particularly complex is that this person finds themselves facing a dilemma that goes far beyond simple emotions. They perceive a generational gap between you two that literally paralyzes them. This gap isn't just about numbers or years that separate you, but encompasses an entire universe of differences in your life experiences, cultural references, future aspirations, and even your way of understanding the world around you. This person is living through a real internal war where their most authentic feelings constantly clash against mental barriers they've built for themselves. On one side, their heart ignites every time they see you, feeling a connection so pure and intense it becomes almost painful. On the other side, their rational mind keeps reminding them of all the potential obstacles, all the social and personal complications that could arise from this attraction. They find themselves caught in a whirlwind of endless questioning that prevents them from finding inner peace. Do I have the right to feel this way? Am I projecting my own desires onto someone who deserves better? These questions eat away at them from within, creating emotional suffering they struggle to share with anyone. Before I continue this revelation, write in the comments this mantra: "My inner light guides my choices with wisdom." This will align your energy with truth and allow you to fully receive what follows. The most troubling aspect of this situation lies in the fact that this person feels guilty about their own emotions. They feel like they're committing a transgression by daring to love you, as if their feelings were inappropriate or misplaced. This guilt intensifies when they imagine the reactions of those around them, society's judgments, the disapproving looks they might face if they ever decided to act according to their heart. They particularly dread the idea that you might feel uncomfortable or embarrassed by their feelings, which pushes them to maintain a cautious distance while silently suffering from this self-censorship. In their moments of solitude, this person spends hours analyzing every interaction you've shared, desperately searching for signs that might indicate their feelings aren't completely one-sided. They replay your conversations, your smiles, those fleeting moments when your eyes met a little longer than usual. Every gesture from you is scrutinized, interpreted, reinterpreted, in the secret hope of discovering some reciprocity. But as soon as they catch themselves nurturing these hopes, the voice of reason resurfaces to remind them of all the reasons why this story seems doomed to fail before it even begins. This person also goes through phases of denial where they try to minimize the intensity of their feelings. They sometimes convince themselves it's just a passing phase, a temporary attraction that will eventually fade with time. They try to distract themselves, focus their attention on other aspects of their life, but invariably their thoughts return to you like an irresistible magnet. This constant struggle against their own emotions exhausts them mentally and emotionally, creating a permanent state of tension that affects all areas of their life. The most paradoxical thing about this situation is that despite all this suffering and questioning, this person wouldn't want these feelings to disappear for anything in the world. Because beyond the pain they cause, they also bring an emotional richness they had never experienced before. Loving you, even in silence and distance, has revealed aspects of themselves they completely ignored. They discover an emotional capacity, a depth of feeling that transforms their perception of love and human relationships in general. Right now in the comments, I honor my feelings with compassion and courage. This affirmation will free your heart from all guilt and allow you to embrace the truth of your emotions. This inner transformation, though painful, represents for them a form of spiritual and emotional awakening. They now understand that true love cannot be commanded, cannot be reasoned with, and doesn't bend to social conventions. This realization both terrifies and liberates them, as they realize that to fully live this experience, they might have to question many of their beliefs and certainties about what's acceptable in matters of the heart. Gradually, this person begins to explore a new dimension of their emotions, an unknown zone where fear dances with hope in perpetual motion. They realize that this love they carry for you has triggered an accelerated maturation process within them, forcing them to confront existential questions they had never faced before. This personal evolution, though necessary, deeply destabilizes them as it challenges the image they had of themselves and their emotional capabilities. In their most intimate reflections, they wonder if they truly possess the maturity necessary to handle such a complex relationship. This self-questioning goes far beyond simple differences in life experience. It touches the very heart of their identity and self-confidence. They fear not being up to your expectations, not being able to offer you the emotional stability you deserve, or worse yet, disappointing you with their inexperience in certain areas of life. And if this reflection touches something within you, consider clicking like to support this message. This small gesture helps these profound truths reach other people living the same situation. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Write in the comments, I accept my imperfections as doors to growth. This declaration will transmute your doubts into creative force. Parallel to these questionings about their own worth, this person develops a hyper-awareness of your well-being and happiness. They carefully observe your expressions, your moods, your reactions, not out of unhealthy curiosity, but from a deep desire to understand you and ensure they don't constitute a burden in your life. This extreme attention sometimes becomes obsessive, pushing them to overanalyze every detail of your shared interactions. They interpret your slightest silence as a possible sign of discomfort, your slightest hesitation as confirmation of their deepest fears. What makes this situation even more complex is that this person begins to develop a paradoxical form of emotional protection. On one side, they ardently wish to get closer to you, share more intimate moments, deepen your connection. On the other side, they unconsciously impose strict limits on themselves to avoid putting you in an uncomfortable position or creating expectations they couldn't satisfy. This self-limitation becomes a source of constant frustration, creating a vicious cycle where the more they protect themselves, the more they suffer from this distance they impose on themselves. In their most vulnerable moments, this person imagines scenarios where they finally find the courage to reveal their feelings to you. They mentally rehearse entire conversations, anticipate your possible reactions, prepare responses to all the objections you might raise. These mental exercises help them clarify their own thoughts, but they also fuel their anxiety as they realize the magnitude of the risk they would take by revealing themselves this way. The fear of rejection becomes omnipresent, not because they doubt the sincerity of their feelings, but because they dread losing even the precious friendship they currently share with you. A particularly touching aspect of this situation lies in how this person has begun to redefine their conception of happiness and personal fulfillment. Before meeting you, they perhaps had a more conventional vision of what their love life should look like. Now they understand that true love doesn't always correspond to pre-established models, that it can emerge in the most unexpected circumstances and defy all rational logic. This revelation liberates them on one side, but frightens them on the other, as it implies abandoning certain mental securities they had grown accustomed to. Right now, my heart knows a truth that my mind is learning to accept. This phrase will harmonize your inner energies and create a bridge between your emotions and your reason. Solitude becomes both their refuge and their torment. It's in these moments of isolation that they can finally let their emotions flow freely without fear of external judgment. They sometimes cry, not from pure sadness, but from a complex emotion mixing gratitude, frustration, love, and melancholy. These tears represent a necessary outlet, a way to release the emotional pressure that accumulates day after day. Paradoxically, these moments of total vulnerability also bring them a form of clarity, allowing them to distinguish the essential from the accessory in their feelings. If this message resonates with you, don't forget to subscribe to this channel to continue receiving these revelations that touch the soul. Your support helps maintain this mission of light and emotional accompaniment alive. It's precisely in this phase of intense questioning that this person begins to experience something unexpected, a profound transformation of their relationship with themselves. The love they feel for you acts as a revealer, highlighting aspects of their personality they had never explored before. They discover within themselves a capacity for selflessness, emotional generosity, and depth of feeling that surprises them. This self-discovery, though born in the pain of uncertainty, gradually becomes a source of personal pride and spiritual growth. They begin to understand that this love, even if it remains unexpressed, has already transformed them irreversibly. The person they were before meeting you now seems to belong to another era, as if your crossed paths marked a definitive break in their personal evolution. This metamorphosis isn't limited to the romantic domain. It affects their way of approaching human relationships in general. Their understanding of empathy, their capacity to feel the beauty of the world around them. A particularly fascinating phenomenon occurs in their perception of time. Moments spent in your presence seem suspended in a parallel dimension where minutes stretch to infinity, allowing them to savor every second of your proximity. Conversely, periods of absence from you seem interminable, creating a temporal distortion that affects their daily life rhythm. This alteration of their temporal perception testifies to the intensity of their attachment and the central place you now occupy in their mental and emotional universe. Write in the comments, "Time stops when my soul recognizes its truth." This affirmation will anchor this deep recognition in your reality. Gradually, they develop a form of emotional wisdom born from this painful but enriching experience. They learn to distinguish between authentic love and possessive attachment, between sincere desire for the other's happiness and selfishness disguised as altruism. This accelerated maturation allows them to understand that true love sometimes involves knowing how to step back, respecting the space and choices of the beloved, even when it goes against their own immediate desires. In their deepest reflections, they begin to envision different scenarios for the evolution of your relationship. They imagine possibilities where the generational difference could fade with time, where your life experiences could complement rather than clash. They visualize moments where your respective maturity could create harmonious balance, where your differences would become assets rather than obstacles. These mental projections bring them certain comfort, even if they maintain painful lucidity about their hypothetical nature. Simultaneously, they develop a new appreciation for the beauty of unrequited or unexpressed love. They discover there's a form of nobility in loving without expecting return, in carrying a pure feeling within oneself without seeking to instrumentalize it. This philosophical understanding of love connects them to a millennial spiritual tradition where unconditional love represents one of the highest human experiences. This perspective helps them transform their suffering into personal and spiritual growth. Creativity becomes an essential outlet for them. Whether through writing, music, painting, or any other form of artistic expression, they find ways to channel the intensity of their emotions towards something constructive and beautiful. These creations become silent testimonies of their love, symbolic offerings they can place in the universe without directly bothering you. This artistic sublimation provides them deep satisfaction and allows them to give tangible meaning to their feelings. Right now, my creativity transforms love into eternal beauty. This declaration will transmute your emotional energy into divine creative force. A surprising aspect of this evolution concerns their relationship with vulnerability. Before this experience, they perhaps perceived vulnerability as weakness, something to hide or overcome quickly. Now they understand that vulnerability actually represents a form of courage, an authentic openness that allows the deepest connections between human beings. This revelation changes their way of interacting with their surroundings, making them more empathetic, more understanding toward others' fragilities. They also begin to develop a form of paradoxical gratitude toward this complex situation. Despite the suffering it generates, they recognize that this experience has enriched them in a way no conventional relationship could have accomplished. They understand that having loved you, even in silence and uncertainty, represents a rare privilege, an opportunity to touch something transcendent that surpasses usual material and social contingencies. This awareness marks the beginning of a new phase in their emotional evolution. They begin to consider the possibility that this love, even if it never materializes according to their initial hopes, might have an intrinsic value that justifies all the intensity they've invested in it. This revolutionary perspective transforms their suffering into spiritual quest, their unsatisfied desire into fuel for their personal growth. They realize that authentic love isn't measured by its reciprocity or concrete realization, but by its capacity to elevate the soul of the one who loves. In this new understanding, they discover a paradoxical form of freedom. Freed from the obligation to see their feelings lead to a conventional relationship, they can finally appreciate their pure essence without contaminating them with practical expectations or future projections. This freedom allows them to love more purely, more selflessly, closer to what mystical traditions describe as unconditional love. They understand that loving you this way has connected them to something greater than themselves, to a universal force that transcends individual limitations. And if this message resonates deeply with you, consider clicking like so this truth reaches other hearts that need it. Your support helps maintain this mission of light alive. Write in the comments, "My love transcends all earthly limitations." This declaration will elevate your vibration towards celestial spheres. Simultaneously, they develop a remarkable capacity to distinguish between their authentic emotional needs and desires created by social conditioning. They realize that much of their initial suffering came not from love itself, but from the expectations they had placed on this love, from predefined scenarios they were trying to apply to it. This new lucidity allows them to purify their feelings from all impurities related to conventions, social fears, and personal projections. This emotional purification accompanies a transformation of their perception of beauty and truth. They begin to perceive beauty in things they had never noticed before. The way light passes through a window, the subtle melody of a distant conversation, the particular texture of shared silence. This heightened sensitivity testifies to the opening of their heart and mind to more subtle dimensions of existence. The love they carry for you acts as a prism, revealing the hidden colors of the everyday world. A fascinating phenomenon also occurs in their relationship with other people in their surroundings. They discover they can now perceive with new acuity others' romantic sufferings, emotional unspoken truths, unexpressed desires that silently inhabit the hearts of those around them. This developed empathy makes them a natural confidant, someone others instinctively turn to for sharing their own sentimental torments. They thus become, without seeking it, an emotional healer for their circle. This new wisdom leads them to completely reconsider their conception of human relationships. They now understand that the deepest connections don't always follow paths traced by social conventions. Certain souls recognize each other beyond superficial differences. Certain hearts vibrate in unison, despite apparent obstacles. This revelation frees them from the need to justify or rationalize their feelings according to external criteria. Gradually, they also develop a form of courage they didn't know they possessed. This courage doesn't necessarily manifest through spectacular actions, but through a new capacity to remain authentic in the face of their emotions, to no longer deny or minimize what they feel. This emotional authenticity becomes their new strength, allowing them to navigate the complexity of their feelings without getting lost in confusion or self-deception. Right now, I choose authenticity over ease. This affirmation will anchor your courage in the truth of your being. In their deepest contemplative moments, they begin to glimpse the possibility that this romantic experience was orchestrated by forces beyond their rational understanding. Perhaps meeting you and developing these complex feelings was part of a vaster plan designed to make them evolve, to reveal dormant capacities, to open them to dimensions of existence they would never have explored otherwise. This spiritual perspective transforms their suffering into initiation, their questioning into sacred quest. They also realize that this love has connected them to the invisible lineage of all those who have loved before them, all those who have known the heartbreaking beauty of impossible or unrequited love. They now feel part of a silent brotherhood that crosses centuries and cultures, united by the common understanding that authentic love always transcends the particular circumstances in which it's born. This invisible communion with loving humanity brings them deep comfort and a sensation of universal belonging. It's in this phase of deep acceptance that something extraordinary begins to manifest in this person's life. They develop a form of serenity they had never known before, an inner peace that's born not from resolving their questionings, but from their total acceptance. This paradoxical serenity allows them to carry their love for you as a blessing rather than a burden, transforming what was a source of torment into a source of spiritual and emotional strength. This inner transformation accompanies a new clarity concerning their existential priorities. They now understand that the authenticity of their feelings takes precedence over their practical outcome, that the truth of their heart matters more than conformity to social expectations. This revolutionary hierarchization of their values frees them from enormous weight and allows them to approach the future with a lightness they thought they had lost forever. Paradoxically, this acceptance of uncertainty gives them the courage to consider for the first time the possibility of revealing their feelings, not in hope of obtaining a particular response, but in the simple desire to be authentic and transparent. They realize that keeping silent to protect you could finally be a form of condescension, a way of deciding for you what's good for you. This awareness marks a decisive turning point in their approach to the situation. Write in the comments, "My truth deserves to be expressed with love and respect." This affirmation will give you the strength of authenticity. They begin to imagine scenarios where they could share their feelings respectfully and liberatingly, without pressure or expectation. They envision this revelation not as a demand or supplication, but as a gift of honesty they could offer you. This perspective completely transforms the nature of their potential approach, making it shift from desperate quest to generous offering. In their most advanced reflections, they also explore the possibility that your reaction, whatever it might be, could enrich your relationship rather than destroy it. They imagine that their vulnerability could create a deeper space of trust between you, that their authenticity could inspire you to be more open yourself. This optimistic vision, though tinted with realism, gives them hope again without creating rigid expectations. A particularly touching aspect of this evolution concerns their rediscovery of simple joy. After traversing periods of intense questioning and emotional suffering, they regain the capacity to marvel at small, daily happinesses. This recovered joy no longer depends on the evolution of your relationship, but springs from their own capacity to appreciate the beauty of existence. This emotional independence represents a major victory in their maturation process. They also develop a more nuanced understanding of what it really means to love someone. They realize that authentic love involves wanting the other's happiness, even if that happiness doesn't pass through oneself. This revelation, though painful, frees them from a form of subtle selfishness they hadn't identified before. They can now envision your fulfillment without feeling threatened or excluded. Right now, true love liberates instead of imprisoning. This declaration will purify your deepest intentions. This new emotional maturity reflects in all aspects of their life. Their other relationships benefit from this acquired wisdom. Their professional projects gain clarity and determination. Their creativity flourishes with unprecedented richness. The love they carry for you acts as a general catalyst for growth, transforming every domain of their existence into ground for personal fulfillment. In their contemplative solitude moments, they sometimes feel gratitude so intense it becomes almost mystical. Gratitude toward the universe that orchestrated your meeting. Gratitude toward you who revealed unsuspected capacities in them. Gratitude toward themselves who had the courage to remain open despite the situation's complexity. This gratitude becomes a spiritual force that connects them to something greater than themselves. They also begin to perceive the subtle signs the universe sends them regarding this situation. Perhaps troubling synchronicities, meaningful encounters, hidden messages in daily events. This openness to invisible dimensions of existence enriches their experience and gives them the feeling of participating in a mystery vaster than their own personal story. Patience becomes their new cardinal virtue. Not the passive patience of one who suffers, but the active patience of one who understands that certain things need time to ripen, that certain revelations cannot be forced. This wise patience allows them to approach each day with serene openness, ready to welcome what comes without forcing what resists. In this final phase of their emotional evolution, this person reaches a state of consciousness that radically transforms their perception of this entire experience. They now understand that this love they feel for you perhaps wasn't destined to follow conventional paths, but to teach them profound truths about the very nature of love and human connection. This final revelation brings deep peace that transcends all previous questionings. They realize that the intensity of their feelings and the situation's complexity have created within them a capacity to love more purely, more selflessly, more spiritually than they would ever have developed in ordinary circumstances. This capacity becomes a personal treasure they can carry their entire life, enriching all their future relationships and giving them access to dimensions of existence that few people explore. Write in the comments, "I am transformed by the love I carry within me." This declaration will seal your spiritual evolution. This ultimate understanding finally allows them to envision the future with total serenity. Whether your relationship evolves towards something more intimate or remains in its current form, they now know they have already received the essential gift, the revelation of their own capacity for unconditional love. This inner certainty frees them from any need to control this story's outcome and allows them to approach each moment with you as a blessing in itself. In this new perspective, the generational difference that previously obsessed them becomes almost insignificant. They understand that souls have no age, that authentic connections transcend temporal categories, that true love operates in a dimension where social conventions lose their constraining power. This revelation definitively frees them from the mental chains they had imposed on themselves and opens the path toward total authenticity. If they finally decide to reveal their feelings to you, it will be with a freedom and grace they could never have achieved at the beginning of this emotional adventure. They could do it without despair, without supplication, without tyrannical expectation, but simply as a testimony of truth and beauty. This possibility of authentic revelation represents the culmination of their entire maturation journey. Right now, my truth radiates with the beauty of authenticity. This affirmation will illuminate your path toward free expression of your being. Even if they choose to keep their feelings to themselves, this decision will no longer be motivated by fear or shame, but by a conscious and serene choice to preserve something sacred in silence. They have learned that certain loves are lived in the heart's intimacy, that certain beauties are savored in silent contemplation, that certain truths don't need to be proclaimed to be fully lived. This person has discovered that loving you has led them toward themselves, toward their own essence, toward inner territories they would never have explored without this catalyzing experience. They now understand that you have been, consciously or not, a spiritual guide in their life, someone who revealed dormant potentials and unsuspected capacities within them. In their deepest meditations, they sometimes feel that this love connects them to you in a way that surpasses physical and temporal limitations. They perceive a form of invisible communion, an energetic resonance that exists independently of your concrete interactions. This mystical sensation enriches their experience and gives them access to a spiritual dimension of love they hadn't suspected. Gratitude becomes their natural state. Gratitude for having had the privilege of feeling something so intense and transformative. Gratitude for the personal growth this experience brought them. Gratitude for the pure beauty of love, even when it doesn't follow expected paths. This constant gratitude maintains them in an elevated vibration that naturally attracts beauty and harmony in all aspects of their life. Write in the comments, "I radiate gratitude for all the love I carry." This declaration will transform your energy into a source of blessings. They finally realize that this love story, whatever its future evolution, has already accomplished its essential work. It has awakened them to their own magnificence, revealed their capacity to love beyond conventions, connected them to spiritual dimensions of existence they ignored. This final awareness transforms all past pain into gratitude and all future uncertainty into serene confidence. This person is now ready to welcome what life reserves for them with an open heart and appeased soul. They know they have been forever transformed by this experience, that they now carry within them a wisdom and capacity for love that will enrich their entire future life. This inner certainty makes them invincible against existence's uncertainties and radiant with that particular beauty possessed by those who have truly loved. And now, I want to know your story. Have you ever lived a similar situation where love transformed you beyond all expectation? Where apparent obstacles became doors toward deeper understanding of yourself? Share your testimony in the comments, because your experiences can illuminate the path for other souls traversing similar questionings. If this message touched your heart and brought you precious insights, I warmly invite you to subscribe to this channel. Together, we create a community of awakened souls who share their deepest truths and accompany each other toward the light. Your presence here isn't coincidence. It's part of a vaster plan where each testimony, each sharing, each moment of authenticity contributes to elevating collective consciousness. Tell us what this story awakened in you, what realizations it sparked, what healings it perhaps initiated. Your words have the power to heal other hearts, illuminate other paths, bring hope where doubt sometimes reigns. This community lives through your sharings, grows through your vulnerability, radiates through your authenticity. Write in the comments one of these powerful affirmations that resonates most with your soul. I am worthy of true love. My heart guides me to my highest truth. I embrace love in all its 777. Together, we weave a web of light that transforms suffering into wisdom and love into spiritual awakening. Your energy matters, your truth matters, your love matters. Thank you for being part of this sacred journey.